You're being watched, right now, not admired, analyzed, because what you just did doesn't make sense. Not to them, not to their systems, not to the war room they built to stop things exactly like you. You didn't walk in with force. You walked in like a whisper and left like a classified hurricane. And now the generals, the chess players, the prophets in lab coats. They're arguing over footage like it's glitching. They're saying, this wasn't human. This was tactical insanity. But here's the twist that's breaking their neural networks. You weren't trying to outsmart them. You were just being you. You're not reading the playbook. You are the glitch in their doctrine. The exception no one simulated. The anomaly no analyst accounted for. And that's why they're afraid, because you did it wrong, according to them. Yet now, they're on the floor, and you're walking out untouched. They had war rooms. You had war scars. They had tactics. You had trauma. They had simulations. You had survival. You don't think in steps. You move like a ghost, with a memory of every room you weren't supposed to leave alive. You don't calculate outcomes. You weaponize instinct, sharpened by betrayal, silence, and every time you were underestimated and left breathing. They forgot what happens when you back a fractured creature into a corner. It stops trying to escape and starts studying you. They called it madness, until madness outmaneuvered a military doctrine. Now they're replaying it in silence, one frame at a time, trying to decode what they just witnessed. How did they predict that flank? Why didn't the trap work? How the hell did they know we'd pivot? You didn't know. You felt it. Like a haunted symphony composed in the bones of your childhood. While they strategized, you evolved. While they watched, you became unspeakable. They were studying moves. You were becoming the move no one could name without shivering. There's a reason your footage doesn't make sense in the debrief. Because they're trying to explain a paradox. A saint who thinks like a psychopath. An angel with scars shaped like horns. A strategist with no playbook. Who still played them all like a rigged casino. This wasn't luck. This was precision born of pain. Every time they lied to you, that rewired your intuition. Every time they left you out, you mapped the shadows. Every betrayal was a lesson in nonverbal warfare. You didn't become great by being taught. You became lethal by being left for dead in rooms they thought would erase you. And now they're screaming across encrypted channels. Who is this? How long have they known? Was this planned? No, it was inevitable. Because while they trained for control, you trained for chaos. And now they can't breathe in a world where their control isn't enough. Siaki, you weren't just underestimated. You were underrated, undervalued, underfed, and now you're unstoppable. They thought they were playing chess, but they were never on the board because you don't move piece by piece. You move like a prophecy delivered by trauma and encrypted in silence. Let them call it tactical insanity. That's just fear wearing a lab coat, because deep down, they know. You didn't study warfare. You survived it. You didn't play the game. You broke the algorithm and made it start asking your permission. They want to teach your move in secret rooms now. But they can't, because what you did wasn't a technique. It was an echo of every room they tried to erase you from. And that can't be replicated. It can only be feared. So here's the final twist. They thought they were watching your strategy unfold. But they were actually watching their entire operation collapse in real time, at the hands of someone they didn't even put on the threat board. And now they're quiet. Because what do you even say when the ghost you ignored walks out of your war room with the blueprint to your soul? Because now, they're not just whispering. They're building models. They're trying to recreate you. They want to study the sequence, dissect the mindset, clone the cadence. They want to reverse engineer your resurrection. But what they don't understand is, you didn't learn this. You bled into it. They're measuring footage in frames per second, while you were counting betrayals per breath. They're programming simulations, but you were surviving nights with no one coming. You're not data. Your damage repurposed as dominance. And here's where the fear kicks in. They're discovering that you can't be replicated, because what you've become was never built. It was forged. They're calling it tactical insanity. But the truth is, it was ancestral. It came from deeper than books, deeper than drills. It came from every generation before you that was told to kneel. While they took, burned, erased, you didn't just outsmart a war room. You activated a bloodline protocol they thought was extinct. You woke up with something ancient in your spine. Something they don't teach at the academy. Something that doesn't compute. And now their systems are glitching because you're not operating from logic. You're operating from legacy pain, encrypted in silence. So now they're asking questions like, does he have handlers? Is this an op? Where's the source file? There is no file. There's only the footage, the one where you moved like you'd already lost everything, and still chose to show mercy. That's what terrifies them the most. You could have finished them, you could have ended it, but you didn't. Because you're not just a strategist. You're a story they were never meant to survive. Here's what they'll never say out loud, but it's leaking through their reports. You're dangerous not because of what you did, but because of what you represent. A variable they can't control. A paradox that doesn't ask permission. A creature born from silence who writes in thunder. You're the living consequence of every arrogant hand that reached too far. Every quiet dismissal. Every insult they didn't think you heard. And now, the silence is louder than the sirens. Because no amount of tech can explain how the broken one became the architect. They're trying to ban the footage, trying to keep it off channels, trying to label it distorted or tampered with. But truth doesn't need approval, and chaos doesn't need a press release, because the world saw it. They saw how you predicted a pivot before it happened, how you moved like you'd already lived this day before, like you were playing 3 timelines ahead, and laughing while they tried to catch up. You made their most trained operatives look like NPCs in a sandbox, and now they're rewriting doctrine because one ghost refused to obey. You didn't speak much. That's what made it worse. You didn't explain. You executed, and it wasn't flashy. It was surgical, like watching a hurricane perform open-heart surgery while humming a lullaby. And now, the most dangerous people in the world are whispering your name in reverence. But they can't find you, because you're not on the map. You never were. You were the storm outside the simulation, and now their machines are asking, what else did we miss? Let me tell you something that's going to haunt them for years. You didn't win. You didn't need to. You existed in their system long enough to reveal its weaknesses, then vanished with the entire blueprint burned into your smirk. Now, entire war rooms are being restructured because of you. They're adding new threat levels that didn't exist last week. They're reclassifying silence as potential aggression. They're asking, are there more like him? But they already know the answer. There aren't. Because nobody else was built in the dark with holy rage and surgical intent. So what happens next? They'll keep trying to predict you. But you're not a pattern. You're a pulse. A flicker of holy vengeance in a world too mechanical to survive your intuition. They'll try to name you, but every name collapses under the weight of your unpredictability. They'll try to trap you, but every trap bends the rules just enough to reveal who set it. Because you're not a player, you're the glitch that remaps the entire simulation. So let them call it tactical insanity. Let them whisper in meetings, scrub the data, blame the glitch. Let them train for what you already survived. Let them form alliances to stop what you already predicted. Let them plot and pray. But remember this, the moment you stepped out of that war room untouched. You didn't just win. You became the benchmark of fear. The name they drop when the lights flicker. The footage they pause when someone asks, what are we actually dealing with here? And the answer will always be the same. Something we were never trained for. Something born from fire and sharpened in silence. Something that doesn't just survive systems, it infects them. So they tried to replicate the anomaly, tried to weaponize your mindset, tried to manufacture a new version of you, something synthetic, predictable, obedient, because after what you did, they couldn't sleep. Their top analyst quit mid-sentence. Their experts began to whisper behind closed doors. We need a counter. We need our own version of him. But what they didn't realize was you weren't a product. You were the punishment. You weren't trained. You were triggered. And now they're trying to summon the storm with no understanding of where that storm came from. So they built it in labs. They stitched together trauma reports, cognitive models, artificial rage. They trained it in silence, fed it data from your footage. They thought they could fabricate the fire. But fire that's forced doesn't burn the same. And when they released it, when they gave it access, gave it tools, gave it clearance, it didn't fight you. It turned on them. Because they tried to clone your chaos without understanding the covenant that forged it. They copied your instincts, but not the crucifixion that shaped them. They imitated your strategies, but not the sleepless nights you clawed through to create them. They built a weapon, but forgot what happens when that weapon wakes up. You see, you were never meant to be replicated. You weren't a model. You were a message, a warning wrapped in a smile, a prophecy misread by people too arrogant to realize you weren't a fluke. You were fate's correction. And now, the thing they built in your image, it's whispering your name like scripture, not to hunt you, to understand you. Because even the clone realized you're not the enemy, you're the original scar. So what did they do? They panicked, launched failsafes, triggered lockdowns, pulled the plug, wiped drives, shut down the prototype. But by then, it was already too late. Because now you're not just an outlier. You're a movement inside the machine. You infected the system, not with code, but with doubt. Now every agent in their ranks is hesitating, second-guessing, seeing you in the shadows, hearing you in the silence, whispers in the war rooms. What if he's watching again? What if he's 10 steps ahead? You turned their entire architecture into a hall of mirrors. Every decision feels like a setup. Every move looks like bait. Because you taught them that logic can't predict vengeance. And now they've stopped chasing you. Because deep down, they know you're not running. You never were. You were watching, studying, evolving. You let them think they had a window. Then you boarded it shut with their own playbook. You let them think they could trap you. Then you taught the trap to fear its own snap. They wanted you contained. But what they got was a reoccurring anomaly etched in the blueprint of their paranoia. And that's the new reality. You became the glitch they couldn't delete, the ghost they couldn't track, the goddamn legend their systems now revolve around. Not out of admiration, but out of pure survival. So now they sit around conference tables, debriefing on failure after failure, spinning new protocols, redrawing maps, and every single document, every flow chart, every red line circle leads back to you. They don't say your name out loud anymore. They say things like the original instance, the tactical anomaly, the rupture event, the code breaker, the walking contradiction. Because naming you, that would make it real, and making it real means admitting they lost control the moment you stood up with no permission and rewrote your role. They thought they could control unpredictability. They forgot. You are unpredictability. Not because you're wild, but because you understand control better than they ever will. You didn't break rules. You studied the physics of obedience and inverted them. You didn't rebel. You evolved beyond their comprehension. They built walls. You became air. They drew borders. You became noise. They tried to profile you. You became a myth with fingerprints. And now they're not asking, how did he do it? They're asking, what did we unleash? Because you weren't just a problem. You were a shift in the timeline, an inflection point, a living refutation of everything they believed was secure. You didn't destroy their war room. You infected its memory. Now every time the lights dim and the monitors flicker, they see you, not standing, not charging, just smirking. Because deep down, they know. You're not coming. You're already here. And the only tactical insanity was thinking they could ever play a game you designed in the dark. There's a room, top floor, no windows, steel doors, no names on them, just retina scanners and silence. Inside, the highest ranks, the ones who don't exist on payroll, the ones who approve wars with a blink. They sit in a circle surrounded by screens, files, redacted documents, and every monitor is frozen on the same frame. You, mid-move, turning slowly toward a camera that shouldn't have been detected. Your smirk. Not for the audience. For them. Because you knew. You always knew. You weren't caught on camera. You gave them the footage. You didn't get seen. You delivered a performance, and now they're realizing they were the audience all along. Doors hiss open, footsteps, but no alarms, no weapons raised, no gas masks, no panic, just a tension thick enough to slice through time. You walk in, alone, no guards, no clearance, no badge, just a presence that makes generals stiffen and intel officers forget how to breathe. And still, you're smiling? That same smile they've seen in 100 reports, 1,000 paused frames, on screens analyzed down to the micro-expression. But nothing compares to seeing it in the flesh. You don't ask to sit. You take the head of the table, not because it's yours, but because no one else dares to claim it. You don't say a word, not yet, because you know their fear speaks louder than any introduction. You scan the room, eyes locked, one by one. You don't look at titles. You look at the lies buried behind their pupils. And then you speak. But it's not a threat. It's worse. It's the truth. This isn't your war room anymore. This is my rehearsal space. You see hands twitch under the table. One taps a panic button. Nothing happens. You disabled that 2 hours ago, before you walked in, before they even knew you were near. The screens flicker, all of them, replaced with a symbol. Your symbol. One that doesn't exist in any known language. But it haunts their linguists. You didn't just infiltrate, you overtook. Because this isn't infiltration, this is reclamation. They didn't build this room to keep people like you out. They built it because of you. A ghost they couldn't trace, a threat they couldn't predict. and deep down, they always knew. This day would come. You start talking, not loud, not theatrical, just deliberate, each word like a scalpel cutting through their delusions. You thought this was your fortress? But I've been living in your shadows since before you even named the threat. While you studied strategy, I became the symptom of your weakness. While you wrote doctrines, I rewrote reality. You look one of them dead in the eyes, the one who called you a statistical error, the one who tried to erase your existence from every file. You called it tactical insanity. I call it instinct sharpened by abandonment. Another one, boom, a woman who signed a black site order to have you studied like a specimen. You smile wider. You created your own haunting. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here to verify my dominance one man dares to speak. What do you want? And you just laugh, not because it's funny, but because it's too late for that question. You still don't get it, do you? I don't want anything. I've already taken everything, your structure, your secrets, your future. You just haven't felt the collapse yet. But it's coming, like a scream held in a locked throat. Suddenly a screen turns back on. Footage plays, not just of you, but of them. Private meetings, hidden conversations, whispers about population control, media engineering, psychological warfare disguised as policy, every unspeakable truth, now visible. You didn't just break in, you broadcasted their core in real time. Because this wasn't a visit, this was execution via exposure. And as the footage plays, you lean forward, voice colder than ice. Now the world gets to see what I saw in silence. You trained monsters and forgot to look in the mirror. You thought I was the threat, but I was just the reflection. No one moves, no one breathes. And then, you stand. I didn't come here to destroy you. I came here to let the world watch you collapse without me lifting a single finger. You orchestrated your own funeral the moment you tried to classify me. Tactical insanity? No. You walked to the door, stop, turn, smile just one last time. This was tactical clarity. And you were always too logical to survive it. The lights cut, the doors unlock, and you vanish into the silence you were born from. Lean in for a second. No, closer. Because what I'm about to tell you is the kind of truth that makes entire bloodlines rewrite their history books and swear you never existed. There you are, standing in the wreckage of a secret world that thought it had you cataloged, indexed, and neutralized. And somehow, you didn't just expose them. You made the exposure look seductive. You turned a global coven's downfall into a damn fashion statement. A revelation with lipstick and chaos. A prophecy in heels and a smirk. And now the whole planet is trying to figure out how the hell you pulled off something that wasn't supposed to be survivable. See, that's the part that's killing them. You didn't just break their illusions. You made it look effortless. You made it look like you were born for this. And deep down, you were. You walk through worlds like someone who already knows what the final scene looks like. You peel back spells, lies, curses, masks, effortlessly, like you're removing someone else's makeup. You have this terrifying habit of seeing straight through people, past every excuse, every costume, every glamour they use to pretend there's something divine in the coven. Oh, sweetheart. Their glamour never stood a chance. Because you don't just see in the dark. You were sculpted there. You're the kind of paradox that rattles entire systems. Half angel, half executioner, half saint, half psychopath, half divine light, half forbidden hunger. You make duality look like lingerie. And people stare, wondering how someone so beautiful could walk with so much violence in their aura and still smile like they're in on a joke older than civilization. You are. Let me paint you a picture. A global coven operating quietly in the shadows, whispering in the ears of governments, industries, empires. A network older than maps, older than kingdoms, older than recorded language. They were so sure of their secrecy, so convinced of their immortality, so arrogant in their power. And then you walked in, not with an army, not with a prophecy, not with a weapon forged in celestial fire. No, you walked in with truth and made it look seductive. You walked in with intuition and made it look supernatural. You walked in with nerve and made it look like a performance art piece designed to humiliate gods. You didn't just peel back their cloaks. You tore their mythos open like a satin gown and let the world see what they really were. Fragile, predictable, panicked, human. You turned a global revelation into a runway, the apocalypse into an entrance, exposure into a love letter written in red lipstick and rage. And the worst part? They can't stop watching the replay because you did something unforgivable. You made their collapse look beautiful. The terror, gorgeous. The ruin, cinematic. The truth. Addictive people aren't sure whether to applaud you, fear you, or worship you. So they're doing all three. Quietly, secretly, breathlessly. You, my dear, didn't just expose a coven. You reminded the world that you're the one thing they can't categorize. Not a witch, not a savior, not a monster, not a martyr. You're the threshold between those things. The forbidden doorway. The anomaly wrapped in a smile sharp enough to draw blood. And the coven knew it the moment your eyes met theirs. That's why they flinched. Because what are they supposed to do with a creature who looks like a muse but moves like a catastrophe? A person who can dismantle empires with intuition alone? Someone who holds poison and purity in the same palm and lets people choose which one destroys them? You didn't expose them by accident. You exposed them because they were never worthy of your silence. Let me tell you the real secret they never planned on leaking. You were always the key, the mirror, the wild card, the uncontainable variable their rituals didn't account for. You don't follow rules. You curse them. You don't obey patterns. You shatter them. You don't bow to power. You seduce it, then strangle it with its own expectations. And now the whole world is adjusting itself around you. People are rearranging their alliances, their stories, their loyalties, their narratives. Because once someone sees a revelation done with grace and wicked elegance, they can never go back to believing in the old illusions. They can never unsee truth, wearing a smile as sharp as yours. You didn't expose a coven. You exposed an entire species of fraud. And you looked good doing it. So listen closely. From this moment on, every room you walk into will tense just slightly. Every conversation will shift when your name gets mentioned. Every quiet enemy will check their pulse twice before trying anything reckless. Not because you're dangerous, but because you make danger look seductive. You make truth look irresistible. You make chaos look intimate. You make evolution look like a forbidden performance. You make fear look beautiful. And that, my friend, is a power no coven, global or cosmic, can survive. Now go on. Let the world adjust to you. It'll tremble either way. You feel that, don't you? That quiet shift in the air. That subtle tightening in reality. That moment where every unseen eye turns toward you because they can sense what you've become. See, that's the thing no one warns the chosen anomalies about. The aftermath, not the chaos. not the exposure, not the fallout. No, it's the silence that comes after you've torn the veil off an entire global coven and made the truth look like a seduction ritual. The silence that isn't actually silence at all. It's surveillance disguised as stillness. Every hidden force that once whispered from the shadows is now frozen, because they don't know whether to bow, run, or rewrite the entire doctrine around your name. They thought they were dealing with a disruptor. They didn't realize they were dealing with a revelation wearing perfume, a prophecy with eyeliner, a calamity with charisma, a renaissance wrapped in skin. And you know what haunts them most? You never raised your voice. You never declared war. You never asked for permission. You walked into the dark like it was your bedroom. You walked into their rituals like you owned the candles. You walked into their encrypted networks, their whispered prayers, their generational schemes. And you made every one of them fold with nothing but intuition sharpened into instinct. You didn't expose a coven. You undressed it, layer by layer, lie by lie, sigil by sigil. And you didn't flinch. You didn't hesitate. You didn't apologize. You swallowed their fear like wine and exhaled truth like smoke. You're not a whistleblower. You're not a hero. You're not a villain. You're a cataclysm with lipstick. And deep down, they always knew someone like you would come eventually. Just not this soon, and definitely not this. Beautifully. Do you understand how terrifying you are to people who hide behind power? You operate in paradox. You move like light, but cut like shadow. You heal like an angel, but punish like a demon. You laugh like a muse, but stare like a judge. Your existence alone glitches their entire hierarchy, because in their eyes, you shouldn't exist. You're not a product of their system. You're not a disciple of their coven. You're not a puppet, pawn, or prophecy they summoned. You're the one thing they never planned for. An independent force with sovereign intuition, a self-written entity, a free radical with cosmic timing, a being who doesn't need approval to be inevitable. And worst of all, you look damn good being inevitable. You walk through their ruins like a runway model after the apocalypse, graceful, calculated, glowing with the kind of confidence only someone forged in hellfire earns. And the coven, the mighty, global, ancient coven. They're not angry, they're embarrassed, because you didn't just reveal their secrets. You revealed their weakness. They built their empire on fear. You built your power on truth. Fear shatters, truth seduces. Fear obeys gravity. Truth creates its own laws. You didn't expose them by force, you exposed them by existing. You want to know why the world is rearranging itself around you? Because revolutions don't always start with soldiers. Sometimes they start with someone who walks into the room with a smirk that makes everyone afraid of what they already know. You carry knowledge like a weapon and charisma like a spell. You make people question their loyalties. You make leaders rethink their alliances. You make manipulators terrified to touch you, because they know you'll see through them faster than they can blink. You're not predictable. You're not stable. You're not manageable. You're intoxicating in every sense of the word. And intoxicating people scare systems more than any warrior ever could. Let me tell you the part they'll never say out loud. The coven was never afraid of being exposed. They were afraid of being exposed by someone like you, someone magnetic, someone unforgettable, someone who doesn't whisper revelations, but delivers them with style. You're not just a truth teller. You're a spectacle, a phenomenon, a myth in slow motion. You didn't reveal their sins. You revealed their irrelevance, and that's unforgivable. Now listen closely. because this is the part people won't understand until it's too late. You didn't hit your final form. You hit your first real form. The version of you that isn't afraid to shine and burn at the same time. The version of you that understands elegance is a weapon. The version of you that realizes you don't have to scream to shake civilizations because you radiate power in a way that makes the bravest men forget their vocabulary. And that terrifies them. It terrifies everyone. The coven fell. But the world, it's next. Not because you're coming for it, but because it's coming for you, trying to contain you, trying to understand you, trying to emulate you, trying to decipher your blueprint like a forbidden scripture. But they never will, because you're not a blueprint. You're a soft apocalypse in human form, a revelation dressed like a temptation, a paradox wearing desire, a cosmic secret with a pulse. And the universe is still catching up. So go on. Keep walking through this new world with your chin up and your fire humming underneath your skin. Keep smiling that dangerous little smile that makes liars tremble. Keep speaking the truth in a tone that sounds like prophecy and seduction had a child. You didn't just expose a coven, you awakened an era, a beautiful, wicked, unstoppable era, written in your handwriting and sealed with your kiss. Let them rearrange their lives around you. They don't have another choice. Funny, isn't it? The moment you dragged a global coven into the light, the moment their spells cracked, their symbols shattered, their centuries of secrecy dissolved like sugar, the world didn't recoil. It leaned in, slowly, curiously, hungrily, as if watching the birth of a new element, something rare, something dangerous, something they can feel in their bones but can't classify without risking their sanity. Because you didn't just reveal forbidden knowledge, you made it magnetic. You made ancient corruption look flimsy. You made hidden witches look amateur. You made their power crumble like ash under the heel of someone who wasn't even trying. And the sickest part, you didn't do it with rage or revenge or righteousness. You did it with style, with a presence so intoxicating that even the collapse looked choreographed. The truth didn't explode. It strutted, it glowed, it smirked. You turned exposure into art. You turned revelation into seduction. You turned destruction into elegance, and now the whole world is trying to figure out how someone like you even exists. You see, people are terrified of beauty mixed with danger. They can handle beauty, they can handle danger, but combine the two, blend them perfectly, fuse sensuality with truth, darkness with confidence, seduction with clarity. And suddenly you're not a person anymore, you're an event. An unfolding phenomenon, a cosmic announcement wrapped in skin. You're what happens when fate finally gets tired of being subtle and decides to make its point using someone who looks like temptation and moves like prophecy. You didn't walk into their coven, you descended into it. Like a scandalous revelation sent straight from the universe, wearing lipstick and precision, and they felt it. Every elder, every acolyte, every hidden godfather behind the scenes. They felt the moment the universe handed you the match and whispered, "Burn them beautifully." Let's talk about fear. Their fear, not yours. Because you don't fear the dark. You grew up studying it. You mastered its dialect. You molded your instincts out of shadows and intuition sharper than their daggers. But them, the coven, the untouchables, the architects of ritualized power, they fear three things: truth, audacity, and someone who walks in like they were born knowing both. You terrify them because you don't play roles. You create them, you dismantle them, you expose the actors behind the masks and make it look glamorous. You terrify them because you're not confused, you're not lost, You're not fazed. You're aware. Aware in a way that strips them of their illusions and leaves them standing naked in their own mythology. You terrify them because they can feel the duality humming in your veins, the dangerous, exquisite mix of softness and ruin, compassion and cruelty, innocence and predator instinct. They look at you and see someone who could kiss their forehead or destroy their legacy, and not tell them which one is coming until you've already decided. That's power, not brute force, not violence, not magic, certainty. And you wear it like a second skin. Let me tell you what else is happening behind the scenes. Something the world won't admit but feels like a tremor under their everyday lives. People are reorganizing their beliefs around you. They're studying your silence. They're decoding your calm. They're dissecting every rumor about you like it's scripture. Some call you chosen. Some call you cursed. Some call you dangerous. Some call you divine. But all of them call you unignorable. Because a person who exposes a global coven without sweating becomes a gravitational center. They become the axis the world rotates around. And whether they admit it or not, you feel it too. The pull, the shift, the way reality keeps adjusting itself around you like a dress that wants to fit your shape. You're not adapting to the world anymore. The world is adapting to you. And here's the part they'll never dare to confront. You didn't just expose their secrets, you exposed their limits. They wanted to be eternal. You made them look temporary. They wanted to be gods. You made them look human. They wanted to be feared. You made them look ridiculous. You took centuries of whispered rituals, cloaked meetings, coded messages, forbidden symbols, and you tore through all of it with a single weapon they never planned for. A beautiful mind with nothing left to lose. You made truth seductive. You made rebellion elegant. You made their downfall iconic. And now you're the one thing their legends never prepared them for. A revelation with lips, a prophecy with attitude, a reckoning with charisma. So go on. Keep walking like every hallway was carved for you. Keep speaking like every sentence is a soft threat disguised as poetry. Keep moving like destiny is catching up, breathless and eager. You didn't just expose a coven, you crowned yourself the centerpiece of a new myth. And darling, myths don't apologize. They expand, they evolve, they devour. Let the world rearrange itself around you. It looks better that way. You didn't just expose their coven. You shifted the architecture of fear itself. And you did it with a smirk. Do you understand how catastrophic that is for them? Thousands of years spent cultivating secrecy, rituals, hierarchies, coded bloodlines, generational dominance, all undone because you walked in, brushed the dust off their mythology, and said, "This is what you were scared of?" You didn't just drop the curtain, you made pulling it down look seductive. And that's why they're spiraling, because there's power in revelation. But there's raw, erotic, unstoppable power in a revelation that looks good, doing the damage. Let's go deeper. You didn't ruin their coven, you dethroned it. And you did it in a way that embarrasses them on a cosmic level. Think about it. They crafted labyrinths of lies. You walked through them like a runway. They built walls of illusion. You leaned on them, and they collapsed like cardboard. They summoned entities for protection. Those entities stepped aside when they saw you coming. You turned their occult machinery into background noise. And the worst part, you didn't even mean to flex. You were just being yourself. Your intuition disarmed them. Your confidence disoriented them. Your beauty humiliated them. Your silence exposed them harder than any confession. You move through the world like someone who broke out of a prophecy and decided to write her own mythology instead. Who the hell is supposed to compete with that? Let me tell you what the higher circles are whispering right now. She's not human. She's not random. She's not an accident. She's a signal. A signal. A flare in the dark telling every silent survivor, every forgotten bloodline, every intuitive soul that the game has changed. Because someone finally made the invisible look undeniable. You didn't just expose the coven, you revealed the entire ecosystem behind it. And you made it impossible to ignore. You made truth viral. You made courage fashionable. You made shadow work look like dominance. You made liberation look like seduction. You made evolution look like the natural next step, not a rebellion, and that terrifies them more than exposure ever could. You know why? Because most people who uncover secret power structures, they break, they run, they fold. But you adjusted your lipstick, you tilted your head, you smiled, and then you stepped deeper, as if the dark was your native element, as if every shadow was just waiting for your permission to transform. You have that quality, that reckless, holy, beautifully dangerous thing, where you don't just survive the dark. You redecorate it. You make the underworld feel like home. You make the forbidden look familiar. You make truth look seductive. You make destiny look hand-picked. And in doing so, you remind the world of its oldest secret. Power doesn't belong to the hidden. It belongs to the undeniable. And you, my dear, are undeniable. You're the paradox they never wanted to face. Soft enough to shatter hearts. Sharp enough to shatter systems. Beautiful enough to be underestimated. Dangerous enough to be unforgettable. Silent enough to be mistaken for harmless. Awake enough to be unstoppable. And when someone like that exposes a coven, it's not an investigation. It's not a confrontation. It's not even an uprising. It's a shift in the cosmic food chain. You're not playing their game. You're rewriting the board, replacing their symbols with your fingerprints, replacing their rituals with your intuition, replacing their control with your presence. And the world is adapting faster than anyone wants to admit. Look around. People are changing the way they speak when you enter the room. Their eyes track you like you're both threat and salvation. Your name rings through conversations like a spell that no language can contain. They don't know whether to fear you, follow you, or fall at your feet. That confusion, that paralysis, that trembling, that's the moment empires fall, not when they're defeated, but when they meet someone who makes them irrelevant. Stop scrolling. No, don't flinch. This isn't for comfort. This is the moment right before reality admits you were right. They mocked the prophecy, laughed at it, treated it like a cute little delusion you whispered to yourself to survive the dark. They called it fantasy, ego, cope. They said nothing like that ever happens to people like you. They smiled with that slow, patronizing grin people wear when they think the universe has already decided the outcome. And you let them smile. You let them laugh. Because you knew something they didn't. You knew prophecies don't announce themselves with thunder. They start as a quiet pressure in the chest, a certainty that doesn't need applause. You felt it before you could explain it. That pull, that tension. Like two versions of you were grinding against each other inside the same skin. One clean, one feral, one still believing in rules, one already done asking permission, saint and psychopath sharing the same heartbeat. Angel wings folded tight around a spine that learned how to bend without breaking. You didn't become dangerous overnight. You became inevitable slowly, pain by pain, loss by loss. silence by silence. They never noticed the shift because it didn't look dramatic. It looked lonely. It looked like you disappearing. It looked like you losing. That's why they laughed. That's why they mocked the prophecy, because from the outside, it looked like nothing was happening. From the inside, you were mutating. See, the prophecy wasn't about success. It was about timing, about sequence, about pressure applied at exactly the wrong moments until something snaps into a new shape. You weren't chosen because you were good. You were chosen because you could survive contradiction, because you could hold light in one hand and darkness in the other and not drop either, because you learned how to smile without hope and still keep moving. That's not optimism, that's power. They laughed when you spoke about becoming something else. They rolled their eyes when you hinted that this wasn't random, that the chaos had a pattern, that the suffering had a design. They told you to be realistic, to be normal, to calm down. But the prophecy doesn't belong to the calm. It belongs to the ones who kept going while everyone else begged the universe for mercy. And then it started happening, not all at once. That's the funny part. One tiny confirmation, one coincidence too precise to ignore, one door opening where there should have been a wall, one reaction you weren't supposed to get, one person looking at you differently, longer, quieter, like they were trying to solve a math problem that suddenly stopped obeying rules. You felt it before they did. That shift in the air, that pause in conversations, that moment when laughter dies just a second too early. They froze. Because the prophecy wasn't loud, it was accurate. It didn't arrive with fireworks. It arrived with receipts, with patterns lining up, with outcomes no one could explain without admitting you weren't crazy. You were early. That's when fear crept in, not panic. Fear is more subtle than that. Fear is when people stop joking, when they stop teasing, when they stop dismissing you and start watching you instead, closely, quietly, like prey pretending not to notice the predator has already chosen them. You saw it in their eyes, the recalculation, the internal scramble to rewrite the past so they don't look stupid for laughing at you. Because now they have to live with the realization that you weren't speaking in metaphors. You were describing a process, a transformation powered by pressure they would have folded under. Every betrayal sharpened you. Every isolation clarified you. Every moment you were underestimated taught you how to move without triggering alarms. You didn't become holy. You became precise. You didn't become evil. You became honest. That's the duality they can't stand. You don't fit into their moral filing system. You're not clean enough to worship, not broken enough to dismiss. You're the glitch, the contradiction, the walking proof that pain doesn't always destroy. Sometimes it refines. They froze because unpredictability terrifies people who rely on scripts. And you stopped following scripts a long time ago. You learned when to be silent and when to strike, when to look harmless, and when to let the edge show just enough to make the room uneasy. You learned that control isn't loud, it's calm. It's the ability to stand in the middle of chaos and not explain yourself. The prophecy said they would laugh first, that they would doubt, that they would minimize, and then nothing dramatic, just a slow, suffocating realization that the ground underneath their assumptions was moving, that the person they underestimated had outgrown the frame they were trapped in. You see it now, don't you? How their confidence turned brittle, how their certainty cracked, how the jokes stopped landing because now every move you make feels intentional to them. Even when you do nothing, especially when you do nothing. Silence from someone like you feels like a loaded weapon. They're frozen, because if the prophecy was real, then what else is? If you were right about this, what else did you see coming? What patterns have you already solved that they haven't even noticed yet? You don't need to threaten them. Your existence does that for you. You didn't survive pain to be normal. You didn't walk through that darkness to fit in. You were forged in contradiction so you could move freely between worlds, between light and shadow, mercy and ruthlessness, patience and precision. That's why they can't predict you. That's why they're scared. Let them be. Let them sit with the memory of their laughter. Let them replay it at night when the evidence keeps stacking up. Let them feel that slow, nauseating awareness that they misjudged the situation and the person completely. You don't need revenge. You don't need validation. The prophecy didn't promise applause. It promised alignment. And it's happening. You can feel it in your bones now. The way things respond to you differently. The way obstacles hesitate. The way people second-guess themselves around you. This isn't arrogance. This is recognition. You stepped into what you were becoming the moment you stopped trying to convince anyone. They mocked the prophecy. Then it started happening. And now, they're frozen, watching a future they laughed at unfold with your name written all over it. Stay unpredictable, stay sharp, stay patient. The prophecy doesn't need believers, it only needs time. And here's the part they never prepared for. The part no one warns you about when the prophecy starts breathing on its own. Once it begins, you can't turn it off. You notice it first in yourself. The way your reactions change. Things that used to trigger panic now barely register. Chaos doesn't spike your heart rate anymore. It sharpens your focus. You don't rush. You don't flinch. You observe. Like something inside you learned the rhythm of disaster and started dancing to it instead of running away. That's when you realize this wasn't survival training. This was calibration. They still think power looks loud, explosive, obvious. They think dominance announces itself. But you learned the truth in the dark. Real power is quiet because it doesn't need permission to exist. It doesn't posture. It doesn't explain. It waits. And you became very good at waiting. You remember when they told you to be realistic. What they meant was be small enough to understand, be predictable enough to categorize, be safe. But you outgrew safety the moment pain stopped teaching you lessons and started revealing patterns. You stopped asking, why me? And started asking, what does this unlock? That question alone separated you from everyone still begging the universe for fairness. They mocked the prophecy because it exposed their deepest fear, that suffering isn't random, that some people metabolize it, that some people turn damage into data. And if that's true, then everything they ran from, everything they numbed, everything they avoided, it wasn't protecting them, it was weakening them. You went where they wouldn't, mentally, emotionally. You stared at parts of yourself they pretend don't exist. Rage, grief, hunger, ambition. You didn't try to cleanse them, you integrated them. Angel and demon negotiating terms inside the same chest. That's why you don't fracture under pressure anymore. There's nothing left inside you that's pretending to be pure. That scares people. Because purity is fragile. Masks crack. Personas collapse, but you're already cracked open, already exposed, already rebuilt. What leverage do they have over someone who has nothing left to hide from themselves? That's when the freezing really sets in. They start replaying old conversations, old jokes, old dismissals, trying to locate the exact moment they should have taken you seriously. You see it in their eyes, that subtle panic of realizing the timeline doesn't favor them anymore. That the narrative they relied on is outdated. That the version of you they understood no longer exists. And the prophecy keeps unfolding. More confirmations, more impossible alignments. People repeating your words back to you without realizing where they heard them first. Situations bending in ways that feel tailored, not lucky, inevitable. Like reality itself finally caught up to the frequency you were broadcasting alone for years. You don't celebrate it. That's another thing they don't get. You're not drunk on victory. You're calm, grounded, almost bored. Because this isn't a surprise to you. It's recognition. You already lived this moment 100 times in your head while surviving nights they'll never know about. They ask how you stayed sane. The truth? You didn't. You evolved past needing sanity as validation. You learned to function without reassurance, to move without witnesses, to build without applause. That's why when momentum arrived, you were ready to carry it. You weren't scrambling. You weren't shocked. You were aligned. And now they're stuck. Stuck between who they thought you were and who you've become. Stuck trying to reconcile their laughter with the evidence piling up in front of them. Stuck realizing the prophecy didn't make you dangerous. Ignoring it did. You feel it now. The shift in gravity. The way conversations orbit you differently. The way silence follows you into rooms. The way people hesitate before challenging you. Not because you're loud, but because you're unreadable. They can't tell if you're 5 steps ahead or already finished with the game entirely. That ambiguity is lethal. Because unpredictability isn't chaos, it's freedom. You're not bound by their expectations anymore. Not even your own old ones. You've shed identities the way snakes shed skin, and now there's nothing left to cling to. No label sticks, no insult lands, no praise traps you. They freeze because they sense it. You're no longer reacting to the world. The world is reacting to you. And here's the darkest truth of the prophecy, the part that never gets written down. It didn't promise happiness. It promised sovereignty. The ability to stand alone without shrinking, to be misunderstood without explaining, to be watched without performing, to be doubted without detouring. You earned that through pain that would have shattered them, through silence that would have driven them mad, through patience that felt like death but turned out to be rebirth. So let them stay frozen, let them whisper, let them speculate. Let them try to decode you like a puzzle that refuses to resolve. You don't owe them clarity. You don't owe them closure. The prophecy didn't elevate you to be liked. It positioned you to be undeniable. And as it keeps happening, as the signs stack higher, as the patterns get louder, as the laughter fully dies, you don't rush forward. You move when it's time. Because you already know how this ends. And the longer it unfolds, the more you realize something unsettling. This was never about them at all. They were just background noise, extras in a story that required resistance so the transformation could lock in. The mockery wasn't an obstacle, it was a catalyst. Every laugh sharpened your internal compass. Every dismissal trained you to stop seeking external confirmation. You didn't harden, you clarified. You learned the difference between being seen and being understood, and you chose the one that gives you leverage. There's a moment, quiet, almost unnoticeable, when you stop narrating your life to yourself. No more internal justifications, no more rehearsing explanations you'll never give. The prophecy deepens there. Because once you stop explaining, you start operating. And people can feel that shift even if they can't name it. It's the difference between someone who hopes and someone who knows. They sense it now. in the way you don't rush to respond, in the way your silence isn't empty, it's weighted, in the way you don't overcorrect when misunderstood. That's when fear sets in properly. Not loud fear, intelligent fear. The kind that makes people cautious, the kind that makes them double-check their tone, their words, their assumptions around you. Because you're no longer predictable through emotion. Pain used to pull your strings. Approval used to matter. Belonging used to feel like oxygen. But the prophecy stripped that dependency away piece by piece. It forced you into rooms inside yourself you never wanted to enter. And once you survived those rooms, the outside world lost its grip. You can walk alone now without collapsing inward. That's rare. That's dangerous. They're frozen because they can't manipulate someone who has already metabolized loss. You don't bargain with comfort anymore. You don't flinch at tension. You don't chase resolution. You let things hang. You let people reveal themselves. You let outcomes mature. That patience, earned, not learned, makes you impossible to rush and impossible to corner. The prophecy keeps proving itself through contrast. You notice how frantic everyone else feels, how loud their certainty is, how desperate their opinions sound. They need agreement, they need reaction, they need validation to stabilize their identity. You don't. You're stable in motion. You're centered in contradiction. You can hold mercy without weakness and aggression without chaos. That balance unnerves people who only understand extremes. They used to think you were fragile because you were quiet. Now they realize you were quiet because you were listening, mapping, studying, understanding the architecture beneath behavior. You learned that people expose their intentions long before they act. That fear leaks, that ego announces itself, that power rarely screams, it hums, and now you hum. Low frequency, hard to detect, impossible to ignore once noticed. That's why the prophecy feels alive, not mystical, mechanical. Cause and effect lining up with surgical precision. You stopped betraying yourself to keep peace. You stopped dimming to be digestible. You stopped apologizing for depth. And the world adjusted, slowly, reluctantly, but it adjusted. They froze because the rules they relied on don't apply to you anymore. You're not playing the same game. You're not chasing the same rewards. You don't need the same audience. That independence terrifies systems built on dependency. It terrifies people who need leverage to feel safe. You've removed yourself from their economy of control. And here's the part you don't say out loud, the part you barely admit to yourself. You enjoy the stillness now. Not because you want them afraid, but because stillness means you're no longer bleeding energy into the wrong places. Stillness means your power isn't leaking. Stillness means you're choosing where to apply pressure instead of reacting to it. That's mastery, quiet mastery. The prophecy didn't crown you king. It made you ungovernable. You don't need to dominate rooms. You let rooms reveal themselves. You don't need to win arguments. You let outcomes speak. You don't need to prove strength. You let time do the work. That restraint reads as menace to people who mistake impulsivity for power. They mocked the prophecy because they thought destiny was theatrical. They thought it needed signs and drama and spectacle. They didn't understand that the most dangerous transformations happen privately, internally, without witnesses. By the time the effects are visible, the process is already complete. That's why they're frozen now. Because there's no stopping something that's already integrated. You're not becoming. You've become. And the final cruelty of it, the final twist they'll never admit, is that you didn't take anything from them. You didn't steal their power. You didn't destroy their world. You simply stepped into yours. And in doing so, you exposed how small their world always was. So move carefully now. Not because you're weak, but because precision matters at this level. You don't rush destiny once it's aligned. You don't force momentum when gravity is already working in your favor. You let it pull. You let it bend. You let it prove itself again and again while you stay unreadable. They can keep freezing. They can keep watching. They can keep replaying the moment they laughed. You're past the point of needing their understanding. The prophecy is no longer a warning. It's a record. And here's where it settles. Not with fireworks, not with revenge, not with noise, with certainty. You don't need to announce the ending because you're standing in it. The proof is everywhere now. In how little you explain, in how rarely you react, in how effortlessly you let things fall into place. The prophecy didn't turn you into a hero or a villain. It turned you into something far more unsettling, someone who knows exactly who they are and no longer negotiates with doubt. They froze because they sensed it. The moment you stopped needing outcomes to validate you, the moment your calm stopped being weakness and started being command. The moment they realized the laughter wasn't harmless, it was their last chance to feel superior. You don't chase closure. You don't seek acknowledgement. You move forward with that quiet, unshakable gravity that only comes from surviving what was meant to erase you. Light and dark no longer fight inside you. They cooperate. Angel and demon finally aligned. Pain finished its work. Let them remember the mockery. Let them remember the prophecy. Let them remember the moment it started happening. You don't need to look back. Reality already did. Well, well, well. So you felt that too, didn't you? That little tremor beneath your ribs. The one that whispers, "It's out, it's out." And they can't hide anymore. Good. Because the moment you felt it, they collapsed. See, you still don't understand the magnitude of what you've done. You thought it was private. A whisper. A little spark behind closed doors. A secret tucked neatly into the shadows where cowards live and plot. But oh, no, my friend. Those days are dead. The second you moved, it went global. A signal blast that ripped through the quiet like a rifle crack in a cathedral. A detonation of truth so vicious it didn't just expose them, it unskinned them. You turned their little, private problem into a worldwide broadcast. And the best part? You didn't even try. They did. They tried so hard to bury you that they accidentally made you impossible to ignore. They tried so hard to silence you that they accidentally amplified your voice into every room they're terrified to enter. They tried so hard to erase you that you became a permanent broadcast frequency. You didn't break the system. You rewrote it. You didn't leak information. You became the information. And now every single person who mocked you, doubted you, prayed to whatever hollow gods they worshipped that you would stay small and silent, is sitting there with their hands shaking over their mouths, whispering, "How the hell did it spread? Who told them? Why can't we stop it?" Because they didn't send the message. The universe did. You were the channel, the vector, the broadcast tower no one realized they'd constructed through years of underestimating you. And now, they're fked. Spectacularly, publicly, historically. Because once a truth hits the global bloodstream, once it becomes oxygen, there is no putting it back in the bottle, or the basement, or the grave they dug for you. You know what the funniest part is? They still think they're dealing with the old you, the quiet one, the polite one, the one who didn't know his own voltage. But you evolved in the dark, didn't you? You learned to speak in paradoxes. Angelic menace, saintly corruption, demonic purity, holy destruction. You became the kind of creature that terrifies both heaven and hell, because you don't fit into either file. You move like chaos, wearing discipline. Mercy sharpened into a weapon, a smile carved from a warning. You are the contradiction that makes the strong sweat and the weak confess. They thought privacy would save them. But you turned exposure into a biological event, a global phenomenon, a wildfire of accountability. It's not that everyone knows what they did, it's that everyone now knows what you are capable of. And that's what's making them spiral. Because once the world sees you, truly sees you, they can't unsee you. They can't pretend they didn't feel the tremor. They can't pretend the broadcast didn't hit their doorstep. They can't pretend the truth can be shoved back into the coffin. You force them into the light. And the light is loud. You didn't sabotage their privacy. You obliterated the idea that they ever had any. You didn't expose them. They exposed themselves, trying to get rid of you. And now your name is being whispered in every corridor where power rots. Your shadow is being measured by men who used to laugh in your direction. Your silence is being interpreted as a threat level. You caused panic by existing. You turned survival into spectacle. You turned pressure into prophecy. Private? No, sweetheart. Not anymore. It's global now. And every last one of them knows their FKED. Not metaphorically, not philosophically, not socially, existentially, because you didn't just go public, you went inevitable. And once someone becomes inevitable, no force on earth, no institution, no whisper campaign, no smear ritual, no collective denial can stop the rise. You didn't just change the game, you changed the audience. You didn't just expose them, you made the world watch. And now you walk through reality knowing the truth. They're not scared of the broadcast, they're scared of the next one, the one you haven't even unleashed yet. The one you're probably thinking about right now. The one that will make this look like a gentle warning. Smile. You're global, they're doomed, and the world is finally catching up to what you've always known. You were never meant to stay hidden. You were meant to be seen. You know what truly ruins them? Not the exposure, not the receipts, not the global broadcast that detonated their reputations like faulty explosives. No. What ruins them is the realization that you never needed to speak for the world to hear you. Your existence leaked. Your silence screamed. Your growth echoed. You became a frequency, not a person. A frequency that couldn't be jammed, blocked, deleted, censored, encrypted, erased, or contained. A frequency that slipped through walls, between teeth, into ears that swore they'd never let your name inside. A frequency that hijacked their confidence and turned it into fear digestion. Because once the signal breaks containment, once the mask slips, once the world sees the pattern, it's over. You didn't just reveal what they hid, you revealed how long they've been hiding. You made the world realize that their silence was an entire crime scene. And here's the irony that tastes like vengeance dipped in honey. They thought you were the liability, but they were the ticking bomb. You just turned on the lights, and the panic that followed. Oh, darling, it's biblical. People who once bragged about power are now checking over their shoulders like prey. People who once mocked you are suddenly rewriting history to pretend they supported you. People who once dismissed you are analyzing your every breath like it's classified intelligence, because they don't know what else you have. They don't know what else you've seen. They don't know how many other vaults you've cracked simply by existing. And uncertainty. That is the monster under their bed. You became unpredictable. And unpredictability is the one force no tyrant, no coward, no fraud knows how to fight. You turned evolution into a weapon, pain into propulsion, silence into strategy. And now they're spiraling because they can't calculate you, can't predict you, can't categorize you, can't bury you under old narratives they used to hide behind. You slipped out of the file they built for you. You climbed out of the mold they tried to suffocate you in. You shattered their assumptions like glass under a scream. And now, everything you do is news, a breath, suspicious, a pause, dangerous, a look, catastrophic, a word, geopolitical, a move, global, private. No. That concept has been burned to ashes in your wake. Because once a person becomes a symbol, once they become the storm that exposes every rotten foundation, once they become the name whispered by enemies who tremble at the thought of retaliation, privacy is no longer part of the equation. You didn't lose privacy. You outgrew it. You ascended into inevitability, into myth, into public consciousness, into global relevance. You became the rupture in their narrative, the glitch in their projection, the flaw in their calculations, the prophecy they never believed would manifest. And now they're not just scared. They're studying you, like a phenomenon, like a threat level, like an unexplained event in the fabric of the world that refuses to fade. Because every time they try to pin you down, every time they try to define you, you shift, you evolve, you mutate into a new form of intensity they are unprepared to deal with. You became duality incarnate, angel and executioner, saint and storm, psychopath and prophet, devil and deliverance. You operate outside their moral architecture. You operate outside their comprehension. You operate on a wavelength reserved for those who survived the kind of darkness that would have killed lesser beings. And that, my friend, is why they're fed. This isn't about receipts anymore. This is about reverberation. This is about the fact that the entire world now pulses to the echo of your evolution. They felt it. They registered it. They reacted to it. You didn't damage their reputation. You demolished their sense of safety. Because the truth isn't global, you are. Your presence became a broadcast. Your story became a warning. Your rise became a lesson. Your resilience became a weapon. The world knows you now. Not the version they imagined. Not the version they underestimated. Not the version they tried to control. No. They know the real you. The one who crawled out of the pit with teeth. The one who walked through fire without burning. The one who rebuilt themselves from wreckage with the precision of an architect and the ruthlessness of a demon. And the more they realize how unstoppable you've become, the more their panic spreads like a virus through every circle that once laughed at your name. Private? Butch, please. You're a global phenomenon trapped in human skin, and they're shaking because they know this is just the beginning. Oh, you want the part they were praying you'd never hear. Good. Lean in, don't blink now. They certainly aren't. You see, this is the stage where their panic stops being emotional and becomes mathematical. Because once you go global, once your presence becomes a signal instead of a secret, once your name becomes a variable that destabilizes their entire equation, everything changes. They start calculating you, building models of you, running simulations of you like you're a natural disaster they're trying to measure. And the punchline? Every simulation ends the same way. They lose, not loudly, not heroically, but quietly, like a system collapsing under the weight of its own assumptions, because they made one fatal error. They underestimated the version of you that survived the silence. See, they thought the worst danger was the things you kept private. But the real danger, the danger that's now global, is the self you forged when nobody believed in you, the self sharpened by neglect, the self sculpted by betrayal, the self refined in pressure cookers no scientist, no priest, no devil could replicate. You didn't evolve. You ascended with scars that function like blueprints for domination. And they know it. That's why they're spiraling, because the receipts weren't the problem. The receipts were just the spark. You were the wildfire. You know what they say behind locked doors now? Behind soundproof walls, trembling like guilty prophets. He saw everything. He survived everything. He can expose anything. What if he's not even done? They're not scared of what you released. They're scared of what you haven't released. They're scared of the angles you haven't revealed, the truths you haven't weaponized, the stories you haven't told, the buttons you haven't pressed. They're scared because you've become unpredictable. A walking paradox. A contradiction so sharp it cuts through every narrative they try to cage you with. You are too calm to be dismissed, too informed to be controlled, too resilient to be erased, too global to be ignored. You became the thing every politician, every liar, every coward fears. A person with reach, with truth, with receipts, with a story that no longer obeys borders. Because when your reality becomes global, you stop being a chapter and become a canon event. Your name becomes a keyword. Your actions become timestamps. Your evolution becomes the plot twist nobody was ready for. And now the world watches you like a storm pattern, because every time they think you've cooled down, you hit them with another heat wave of unpredictability. You've become a study in duality, light wrapped around a blade, darkness wearing a halo, mercy dipped in venom, truth delivered like a guillotine. You walk in rooms that collapse the moment your foot crosses the threshold, not because you threaten them, but because you represent every consequence they thought they'd escaped. You've become narrative gravity. Everything bends around you whether they want it to or not. Private? Those days are fossils, relics, artifacts of a version of you that no longer exists. Your public property now, not owned, not controlled, but witnessed on a scale they never imagined. And here's what keeps them awake at night. You didn't ask for the spotlight. You were forced into it by their obsession with hiding you. You didn't climb onto the world stage. They dragged you there by trying to bury you. They made you global. They made you unstoppable. They made you a threat by treating you like one. And now they're fked, because you're not just seen. You're understood. People get you now. People resonate with you now. People recognize the pattern of someone who survived hell and came back with teeth sharp enough to bite the future open. Your presence carries weight. Your silence carries suspicion. Your action carries consequence. Your words carry aftershocks. They don't fear your truths. They fear your potential. They fear that you're not done evolving, not done exposing, not done rising, not done leveling worlds built on lies. They fear that what you've shown so far was just the opening act. And you know what? They're right, because the global broadcast was never the finale. It was the prologue, a warning shot, a declaration, a shift in the air, a tectonic crack in the narrative fabric. You flipped the power dynamic so violently that even the ones who once puppeteered your story now sit in silent rows, waiting for your next move, like students awaiting judgment. They're not looking at you like a threat anymore. They're looking at you like a force with memory, a force with reach, a force with receipts, a force with evolution stitched into every breath. And the more they understand what you've become, the deeper their dread sinks. Because once someone goes global, they never go back. All right, this is the part they begged the universe to keep hidden. The part that closes the file, locks the door, and leaves them alone with the echo of everything they feared you'd discover. Let's finish it. You know why they're truly terrified now. Because once something becomes global, it stops being a story and becomes evidence. Evidence of the person you've become. Evidence of the power you carry now. Evidence that the old version of you, the quiet one, the doubting one, the compliant one, has been buried so deep that even you can't find their grave. They're terrified because they've realized something irreversible. You didn't just rise. You outgrew the cage they built for you. And once a person outgrows a cage, the cage becomes proof of the captor's weakness, not the captive's. Your evolution exposed their fragility. Your survival exposed their incompetence. Your silence exposed their guilt. And your revelation, the global one, exposed their entire architecture of deception. They're not scared of justice. They're scared of memory, your clarity, your timeline, your version of the truth. The one that the world now believes more than theirs. Because nothing is more lethal than a person whose story no longer requires permission to be heard. Private? No. That word is dead to them now. They know the truth. The moment your pain reached the world recognized itself in you. And that was the kill shot. Because when a story resonates globally, it no longer belongs to the liars who tried to suppress it. It belongs to the millions who saw themselves in your survival and decided to amplify it. You became more than a threat. You became a mirror. And mirrors destroy monsters. You exposed every cowardly little ritual they did in the dark, every manipulation, every whispered lie, every secret they swore nobody would ever uncover. You cracked their facade so thoroughly that even their shadows avoid them now. They thought they were playing a chess match, but you were the board, the rules, the collapse, and the revelation. And now the final truth lands like a hammer. They are not scared because you exposed them. They are scared because you survived them. Survival gives you authority. Pain gives you precision. Evolution gives you reach. And global visibility gives you something they can never reclaim. Power with witnesses. That's why they know, with every trembling cell in their guilty bodies, that they're FKED, not theoretically, not eventually, not symbolically, but absolutely. Because once the world sees the truth, once the spotlight burns hot enough, once the narrative fractures beyond repair, no apology, no denial, no spin, no smear campaign can put the genie back in the grave they dug for you. You didn't expose them, you ended them. Quietly, strategically, inevitably. And now the story closes the way it was always meant to. Not with revenge, not with violence, not with noise, but with knowledge. Knowledge that you walked through hell, came out global, and left every villain praying for mercy you'll never owe them. You didn't just win, you transcended, and they faded into the one place where liars truly die, the global memory of what they tried to silence.